Welcome to the Six Sigma Green Belt Program series brought to you by BOBKASH University. This is lesson number 1, Introduction, and my name is Ajit SHARMA. So this series comprises of multiple videos and multiple lessons that cover the entire course of Six Sigma Green Belt Program. And if you see all the videos and lessons without a gap, it will give you a complete knowledge under the Six Sigma Green Belt course. So let's start. So as I said, please watch all the lessons to maintain continuity in learning and understanding, because if there is a gap, you might feel difficulty in understanding some of the concepts. So what are the learning objectives? So after you complete this course, this Green Belt program will enable you to learn the basic problem solving techniques under the Six Sigma Green Belt program and the statistical tools that we use in this methodology. So after this series of program, you will be able to clearly understand the background, the philosophy of Six Sigma, and how really it works, how really it benefits the organizations. After this course of series of program, you will be able to select the right Six Sigma projects for improvements. This has been quite a challenge for people who are into Six Sigma and they want to select the right Six Sigma projects for their execution. So you should know how to select the right Six Sigma projects. You will also learn how to correctly define the problems. What exactly is my problem? This you will learn very precisely in this series of program. You will also objectively measure, that means quantitatively measure the problem in front of you in your Six Sigma project. You will also learn to use statistical tools to discover the real root causes of the problem, learn the methodologies, the ways and the tricks to formulate the solution that will really eliminate or kill the root cause of the problem in the Six Sigma project. You will also learn to put a control over the implemented solutions above so that they are always relevant in the organization and they don't fade out with respect to time. So all these are the phases of the Six Sigma Green Belt program that we are going to see in this series of program. Also, you will understand the statistical tools from first principles. That means from their basics. So this is very interesting because many of the schools are teaching Six Sigma only based on the software, which does not allow you to understand what the tool is doing in the background. So it only gives you the results using a software, but you do not know what exactly the formula is being used or what exactly the tool is doing with the data. So in this program, we will also tell you how the tools actually work in the background. But also you will learn Minitab software use in the execution of your Six Sigma project for the statistical tools management. So once you have the clear understanding of the first principles, you will be able to very easily learn the Minitab software for statistical tools management in the Six Sigma project. And after completing all the videos and lessons in this course, really you will find yourself in a much better position in the organization to work for. Okay, so let's get started with this mission of Green Belt Six Sigma program. So very brief history. So these two gentlemen, Bill Smith and Bob, were the pioneers in the field of Six Sigma. They both belonged to Motorola, and in fact they initiated the application of statistics for their own business improvements. It was not for outside, it was for own business improvements in Motorola. And Bill Smith was the guy who coined up the word Six Sigma way back in 1986. So very brief history. From 1986, Motorola developed Six Sigma as a methodology to improve its own quality of its products. 1990 to 2001 decade, apart from Motorola, many other companies start picking up this strategy, this methodology in their organizations. ABB, Honeywell, GE, everybody knows, has been using very extensively Six Sigma methodology in all the areas of its functions. Initially, applications of Six Sigma were restricted only to production areas because we wanted to improve the quality of the product. So it was restricted to the production areas, but it was such a beautiful tool that really delivered. People wanted to enjoy its results outside the production area. So after 2000, companies started adopting Six Sigma in all sectors of the industry, and a significant number of applications started to be adopted outside the production areas as well. So that means from 1986 to till today, now Six Sigma finds its place in all phases of the industry, all phases of life. In fact, it has been accepted that it is a tool that can deliver the results that you want in any sector. Wherever you have data, it can be applied. So it's not only production now, it's being applied everywhere now. This is the global acceptability indicator of the Six Sigma methodology. You can see the number of companies. This is just a few examples of the companies that are adopting Six Sigma as their continuous improvement methodology to improve their performance in all sectors of their business. Now, any project cannot be a Six Sigma project. So any improvement project cannot be a Six Sigma project. You have to select the right Six Sigma project to have the correct results and to ensure that this tool really delivers in your organization or in your project. So typically, a Six Sigma project are the difficulties in the organization that have very complex nature, difficult to solve, and having unknown solutions. You really don't know what is the solution of this problem despite application of basic tools that you have done. Still, you don't know what is the solution. The problem is still there. And the nature of the problem itself is very complex. Apart from this category, these problems, if solved, have a very huge impact on the business of the organization. So issues in the organization which are complex, difficult to solve, unknown solutions, and as well have a high impact on the organization are the right issues to be selected for the Six Sigma project. Where you have low impact on the organization, low impact on the business, and as well as they are not very difficult to solve, you have to just empower people to take action themselves to solve the problem, because they are not difficult to solve and they don't really impact. Even if these guys don't have a good solution or they don't implement the solution correctly, it doesn't really impact the business. So you can just empower people to solve the problems themselves based on their competencies, their training that we have given them. Now, issues in the organization which have high impact, but again, they are not very difficult to solve. We know the solution. We know what is the solution, but they have a very high impact. Then for this, you have to make action teams which will just implement these solutions, because you know the solutions. The issue is just to implement the solution. So you need to make action teams. Okay. It's just a management of actions. A is doing this, B is doing this, C is doing this. You need to allocate the actions to people, make an action team, and they will implement these solutions because they are not difficult and we know the solution. Now, something lies in between Six Sigma projects and these action teams. just do it mode of actions is the re-engineering, where they have a high impact on the business, but they are on a medium level of complexity. That means solution is known after the application of basic tools like quality circle, etc. So these projects also do not qualify for a Six Sigma project. Six Sigma projects are only for unknown solutions, very difficult in nature problems, difficult to solve, and having a high impact on the organization. So what you can do is you can put all the issues in your department or the company or the function and give them a ranking from 0 to 10, make a cross-functional team, sit across the table and give a ranking to all the issues that you write down in terms of complexity, and also rank them in terms of impact on the organization. So whichever actions are high on complexity and high on impact as well, please select your Six Sigma Green Belt project from these issues or these problems. So once you have selected the project, you need to build a Six Sigma organization, a team that will take you through the project and have the benefits delivered. So you will have to have some green belts, black belts, master black belt. So these are the names of the resources that are used in a typical Six Sigma project organization. So we'll see them one by one. Now before that, you might be wondering, there are two types of projects. One is a green belt project, one is a black belt project. So we have just seen how to select a Six Sigma project, but we have not seen how to discriminate between a green belt project and a black belt project. So this is just a rule of thumb of categorization of green belt and black belt projects that we have been telling the organizations to implement. The thumb rule is, if you want roughly three times of improvement from the current situation, it is regarded as a green belt project, and the tools of the green belt typically are deployed in solution of this problem. If you want something like 10 times of improvement from the current situation, it is regarded as a black belt project, and obviously the black belt tools are implemented in this project. Now there is no black and white line which discriminates the green belt tools and the black belt tools. The only difference is in the green belt, in the black belt, the depth of the tools application is much higher compared with the green belt. But there is no discrimination that these are the tools for green belt and these are the tools for black belt. There is no discrimination like this. So you have to select a project as a green belt which has 3 times the improvement from the current situation, roughly speaking. And if it has much more requirement of an improvement from the current situation, it's not a green belt. A black belt project has to be chosen to solve that problem. So what do these resources do in terms of their roles? What are the roles of these resources in a Six Sigma project organization? So who is a green belt? What are the roles of a green belt? The green belt's role is to lead or work on a Six Sigma improvement project. That means either he can be an action leader or he can be a team member. Either he can be an action leader or a team member on a green belt Six Sigma improvement project. Second point is that green belt person or a green belt resource in the organization is not a full-time job. He will have his normal functional duties in the organization. For example, if he's in the production, he will see production. If he's in sales, he will look into sales. If he's in maintenance, his job is to maintain whatever area he has been given. Apart from this, some of the time he will spend on the execution of his green belt Six Sigma project. So it's not a full-time job. This is only a part-time dedication. Coming to the role of black belts. Black belt role is to either lead or work on a black belt Six Sigma improvement project. So that means either he will be an action leader of a black belt Six Sigma project, or he will be a team member in a black belt Six Sigma improvement project. Now, here is the difference. Black belts are supposed to be full-time job, full-time dedication. He will not be given any other function in the organization. He will not be allocated to a particular function like production or quality or maintenance, inspection. So he will do a full-time job as a Six Sigma resource if he's a black belt. This guy is specializing in Six Sigma methodology and tools, and hence he will support the green belts, the GBs, with the methodology and as well as in their execution of the projects. So green belts cannot complete the projects on their own. They need support from the black belt in terms of the tools they need to apply for their project. Which tools I have to apply, how to apply this tool. I'm stuck in statistics, I'm stuck in Minitab, and I don't know what this tool is doing in the background. So for all these areas, the black belts are supposed to support the green belts, and it's a full-time job. Then we have master black belts in the organization. Their role is to drive the deployment in different business areas. Now, a black belt can be allocated to one particular function. He will not do the functions of those departments, but for example, we will have a black belt allocated to production. So he will not look into production, but his job is full-time devotion on black belt projects because he's a black belt, and also support the green belts. But master black belt will drive the deployment of Six Sigma in different business areas, all the business areas or the supporting functions. And in some organization, the master black belt is also supporting the champions. So we will see who are the champions in the next slide. So this is a full-time dedication as well. So master black belt is a full-time dedication. He will spend all his time on the execution of Six Sigma projects, and he will give training and support to the black belts. So black belts give training to green belts, and master black belt give training to black belts. So he will give training and support to black belts and the improvement teams, whatever, green belt or black belt, with their methodology and their projects. So this is one step higher than the black belt. Now, who are the champions? Champions are the leaders of the business areas or business functions or the departments. For example, the head of production can be the champion in the Six Sigma project team. The business head or the leader of maintenance department can be the champion of the Six Sigma project team, and so on. But what does he do? The champion leads the deployment in his particular department or his particular function. Of course, he is supported by master black belt. We have seen this in the previous slide. But it is his responsibility to ensure that whatever projects are taken in his department, they are deployed, they are executed properly, and the results are delivered, because he is responsible for his department. So he will also ensure that the Six Sigma projects taken in his function or area are deployed. He will also set the objectives for his department. He will also set the priorities for his Six Sigma projects, and also he will provide the resources. So if some financial resources are required in the journey of the execution of the Six Sigma project, it is his duty to provide these resources. Also, it is his duty to provide the human resources if required in the journey of the Six Sigma project execution. Another role of champion is also to review the projects on regular basis. Whatever projects have been taken in his department. So this is the role of a champion who is the head of his particular department or function in the Six Sigma project team. The role of the CEO or the top management, or sometimes these are called sponsors in some organization, in some places. What is their role? Their role is to set the overall vision of the company and objectives. So remember, the champion was setting the objectives for his functional department, for his function, whereas the top management or the sponsor or the CEO is setting the objectives for the whole organization. That means for all the departments, and the direction in which actions have to be taken to meet these overall objectives of the company. This is not the functions now, this is the company objectives. Now, this is important because based on these objectives, Six Sigma projects are chosen in the functions, because the functional objectives or the department objectives have to be linked to the company objectives, which are made by the CEO or the top management. Next role of the CEO or top management, the sponsor, in terms of the Six Sigma project team, is to ensure the alignment with the strategic objectives. That means whatever Six Sigma projects are taken in his organization, they are aligned to his objectives. They are aligned to the objectives that he has made or they have made for the company. So it should not happen that the champion is having a Six Sigma project. It's a good Six Sigma project for his department, but it is not aligned to the vision by the CEO. It is not aligned to the objectives by the top management or the sponsor of the organization. It should be aligned to the company objectives. So we can also say they are the champions at company level. So champion is the leader. We have seen champion is the leader of a function or a department. But a CEO can be regarded, or the top management can be regarded as the champion of the entire organization. So they visibly lead the organizational deployment and provide resources and drive the cultural change for Six Sigma projects deployment. Right then, what is Six Sigma to a layman? So I have just heard this word today, for example, and I don't know what is Six Sigma. Can you tell me in a brief what is Six Sigma? Well, Six Sigma, as we have been seeing in the previous slides, it's a methodology, is a strategy, is a way to do things that drives business improvements. So it is a structured step-by-step methodology that will ensure business improvements in the organization. Simple. Now we will see something called as Six Sigma level. Sigma level you will hear multiple number of times in the course of our programs. So Sigma level, for now, we will understand as following, because in the coming slides we will, or in the coming programs, we will see a deeper insight into Sigma level. So Sigma level is a measure of goodness, how good you are. How good you are, when I say, means how good is your process. Is a measure of goodness of a process using a universal measurement scale. So when I say universal measurement scale, means if you are into production, you have a different process. If you are in sales, you have a different process. If you are in recruitment, you have a different process. But I want to match all these processes by a single indicator. It is not possible. We can match only apples to apples. So Sigma level gives a commonality of measurement between different processes and gauge them how good they are and tell them how good they are. So Sigma level can be of a production process. Sigma level can be of a recruitment process. Sigma level can be of a maintenance process. Sigma level can be of a store department. So it's a measure of how good your process is. Whatever you are doing, irrespective of the nature of your job, whatever you are doing, it is a measure of how good your process is. It's a measure of goodness using a universal measurement scale. Means it's a common scale. Universal means common. It's a common measurement scale for all the processes. So it's easy for us to compare apples to apples. Now, higher sigma level is good or lower sigma level is good. So higher the sigma level, the better you are. That means the higher the sigma level, the better your process is. What really sigma level is, we will, don't worry, we will see that in the coming videos and lessons and slides. But from the big picture, for the moment you should learn that higher the sigma level, the better is the process. So as this graph shows, the sigma level is increasing from 3, 4, 5 to 7 and so on. And as the sigma level is increasing, the defects in your products, the number of defects in your products is drastically reducing from, let's say, something like 66,000 is dropping to 200 to 3 and less than 1. So as the sigma level is increasing, your defects in the product, the number of defects in the production line are going down. So that means it is good for us. If defects are going down, this is the process improving. So higher the sigma level, the better it is, because lower the defects we witness. We will see what is DPMO later on. So this is defects per million opportunities. So for example, if you are at 6 sigma level, you will have only 3 defects, almost 3 or 4 defects in 1 million products that you make. So sigma level goes up, the quality also goes up because defects go down. So why only 6 sigma and why not 12 or 10 or 15 or any other number than 6? What's so special in 6? So we will have a deep insight into this, why 6 sigma and why only 6 sigma level. So you are saying 6 sigma level is increasing, so let me have 15 sigma because I want the perfect quality. So why not? Why you restrict only at 6 sigma? So we will have a deeper insight into this in the coming videos, but for the time being, you can understand the following. As we increase the sigma level, the defects go down. But in order to increase the sigma level and drastically reduce the defect level, the organization has to spend some amount of money. There is a cost of quality. There is a cost of quality involved in boosting the Six Sigma. In boosting the sigma level. There is a cost involved in boosting the sigma level. So now in an organization, we are here to make money. So we trade off, we balance between the sigma level that we will achieve and the cost that we are going to spend on it. So we have to balance, and it has been seen that 6 sigma level is the most optimum level where the cost is justified that goes into it for achieving it. But there are some processes which require more than 6 sigma, maybe 10 sigma or 12 sigma, because that is a process requirement. We can't be just happy with 6 sigma level in those processes. But generally speaking, 95% of the processes, there is a good balance between the cost and the sigma level at number 6. So that's why it's 6 sigma name coming from that background. But we will have a greater look into it when we go into distributions. Just to give you an idea, how is the sigma level affecting the quality that we get in the organization? This gives you a insight into it. So we just quickly compare the defects in a 3 sigma level company and in a Six Sigma level company, or for that matter, 3 Sigma level process and a 6 Sigma level process. So if a pharmacy is working at a 3 Sigma level process, it will have 54,000 wrong drug prescriptions in a year. Whereas another similar company, if it is working on a 6 Sigma level process, it will have just one against 54,000, just one wrong drug prescription in 25 years. This is 1 year. Another example, 27 minutes of zero airtime or dead airtime per TV channel each week. And if this process is working at a 6 Sigma level, it will have just 2 seconds of dead airtime per TV channel each week. So from 27 minutes, this goes down to 2 seconds. 5 wrong landings in one single airport in 10 years if you are working on a 3 Sigma level process, and just one wrong landing all over the country. This was only one airport, all over the country's airports in 10 years if you are working on a 6 Sigma level process. So that's the jump the quality takes when you increase the Sigma level. What are the ultimate goals of Six Sigma, and what does it really focus on? How does it really deliver the results? So the whole thing, the magic that Six Sigma does is to focus on unwanted variation. You must focus on this word variation because this will come to you again and again and again in your journey of learning Six Sigma Green Belt program in this series. So we are here to reduce the unwanted variation in the process parameters. Whatever you are measuring, whatever parameter you are measuring in the process, the goal of Six Sigma is to kick out the unwanted variation. Remember, we are targeting unwanted variation. We are not targeting variation. Nobody in this universe can eliminate variation. Variation is an intrinsic part of any process in the universe. You cannot eliminate variation. We need variation, in fact. If we don't have variation, all of us will look the same. What we are targeting is unwanted variation. So if you have unwanted variation eliminated in the process, that means your parameters will be more predictable. Your parameters will behave as per your desire, as per the specification. And if that happens, you will have less defects. If you have less variation in the production line, naturally you will have less defects. If you will have less defects, your production will be more because you have low rejection. Now, if you have less defects and production is more, you will have customer satisfaction. That is why I put all these 3 bullets in blue color, because these 3 are a result of kicking out the unwanted variation. So what we are really behind is to kick out the unwanted variation under the journey of Six Sigma. So if so much we have to focus on variation, we must understand what is variation and how do I really measure this variation. So we will understand very quickly by this nice and easy example. How do we understand variation, and is there a statistical parameter that measures quantitatively the variation of a process? Let's see this through an example. Suppose on a highway, the allowed or permissible car's speed limit is 50 kilometers per hour to 110 kilometers per hour. That means you cannot drive below 50 kilometers per hour and you cannot drive more than 110 kilometers per hour. Now the policeman on a certain day stands on the highway hidden somewhere and takes 41 observations by his radar enabled camera, and this is the speeds of the car that he records in his camera. So the first car he records was driving at 65 kilometers per hour, 66 kilometers per hour, 67 kilometers per hour, and so on. Now this is a process of driving of cars on a particular highway on a particular day. Can I know the variation of this data? So I want to know the variation of this data. Is there a way out? How to know the variation of this data? And how do I measure it? Yes, there is a statistical parameter called sigma. It's a small Greek letter which is denoted by this symbol, and it is called a standard deviation. Before we really jump into the tools of this Green Belt Six Sigma, you must be very, very clear on what is standard deviation and how it is calculated. This will come to you again and again in your journey to learn the tools of the Six Sigma Green Belt program. So if I want to know the variation of this car speeds recorded by the policeman, I have a statistical tool called as standard deviation that will help me to report the variation quantitatively, and it is called sigma, denoted by this letter. Now what is sigma or standard deviation? Let's have a look how to calculate this standard deviation. So as we have seen, the standard deviation is an indicator of variation. It's an indicator, quantitative expression of variation, indicator of variation of a process data. In our case, it's the speeds of the car. It tells us, so standard deviation, what does it tell? It tells us how far the data might go from the process mean. So whatever the mean of the car speeds that the policeman recorded. So a policeman recorded 41 readings. They must be having a mean on an average. Let's say this is the average of the car speeds that the policeman has recorded. Standard deviation will tell us how far away on the upper side and how far away from the lower side the car speeds can go. That means the next car that you monitor for speed, the next car that the policeman monitors for speed, what is the most likely range in which you shall get the reading? So because I know the standard deviation, I know that, let's say, the next car that I monitor for speed will lie between this and this, because I know the standard deviation. So standard deviation tells you how far away upper and how far away lower the data can go, car speeds in this case, from the mean or the process average. But how do I calculate it precisely? Let's see by the same example. So these were the car speeds recorded by the policeman. So first of all, to find out the standard deviation, let's find the mean of the car speeds. How do you calculate the mean of the car speeds? You sum up all the speeds. Okay, sum up all the speeds divided by number of readings, 41 cars. So I have added this for you. It is 3359 divided by 41. You get 81.9 kilometers per hour. 89.9 kilometers per hour is the mean speed of the cars recorded by the policeman. So I put this 81.9 kilometers here. Now if I know the standard deviation of this data, I will interpret it like this, that standard deviation will tell us how much deviation of the car speeds, will be there from 81.9 kilometers. So the next speed that I monitor of the car on the road, how far it will go from 81.9 this side and how far from 81.9 it will go on the lower side. This will be told to me when I know the standard deviation. And I have already started calculating the standard deviation because mean is used in the formula for standard deviation. What do we do next after finding the mean? So Here is the official definition of the standard deviation. It looks quite complex in English, but don't worry, when I show you the example, it will be very, very easy. So in terms of the text, or in terms of the English language, it means that it's the square root. Standard deviation is the square root of the averaged sum of squared difference from the mean. So I have the mean. I will calculate how each data is behaving from the mean. I will calculate the difference. I will square that difference. I will add all that square difference. I will take the average of that and square it. It will be standard deviation. Well, it looks complex in a text form like this, but it's very easy when you see in the example. So we have already calculated the car mean speed 81.9 kilometers per hour in the previous slide. This was our raw data, the speeds, 41 car speeds recorded by the policeman. So now we have to take the difference of each of these reading from the mean. See the definition, it is asking difference from the mean. So difference from the mean will be calculated by subtracting 65 minus 81. This is the data, this is the mean. So I want to know the difference from the mean. So 65 minus 81.9, 66 minus 81.9, 67 minus 81.9. So it becomes something like this. I have already calculated for you. For example, see, 65 minus 81.9 is minus 16.9. 66 minus 81.9 is minus 15.9, and so on. So what does the definition ask next? It asks us to square this difference. Why do we do this? The logic behind is because when you're subtracting, you have now brought in a negative sign, a negative polarity in the data. So we cannot deal with negative data because we are going to do some calculations and that might pose us issues. We want an absolute figure, but we have brought in negative sign. To eliminate this negative polarity, we will square it. Square of any negative is positive, we all know that. So because we creep in negative by doing the difference of the data and the mean, we have to square it. Let's square each of this data and we get this green color column, which is the square of this pink column. We square the pink column and this is what we get. Now next in the definition was the sum total of the square. Now we have to add all this green column to get the sum of squared difference. This green column is the squared difference, and if we add all this green column, we will get sum of squared difference. So the sum of squared difference is 17914.81. This is the sum of squared difference. What was next in the formula? We want to average this. How do you do average of this? By dividing with the number of readings. So you will do, you will averageize this data by dividing by the number of readings. So you will get average of squared difference from the mean. Average of squared difference of mean. So how do you do the average? So standard deviation was square root of average of sum of square difference. So this was the sum of square difference we have seen from the previous slide. So I want to average it. Now we have 41 readings because we have 41 cars. We will divide this figure 17914 by 41 minus 1. This is actually called degree of freedom. Don't worry about this at this stage. I will explain. This is a very easy concept. I will explain this later on, degrees of freedom. At the moment, you just imagine we are dividing by 41. Anyway, if the number of cars become too much, for example, they become 100, 200, 1000, then minus 1 becomes insignificant because there is not much difference, for example, in 999 and 1000. So you just consider in the mind, we are averaging this figure by dividing by the number of cars. Later on, I will tell you why do we do -1, because we have to divide by degrees of freedom. So we are averaging, and by average we get, when we divide this, we get 447.87. Now we do square root. Why do we do square root? To cancel the effect of the square. Why did we do square? To cancel the effect of the negative data. And why we are doing square root? To cancel the effect of the square. Right? You know, the square root of a square is the previous number itself. So we will square root this data, 447.87, and we get 21.16 kilometer per hour. This, dears, is our standard deviation. So we get the standard deviation sigma 21.16 kilometer per hour. What does it mean now? It means roughly that probably our car speeds are going to be between the mean plus minus 21.16 kilometer. That means plus minus standard deviation. That means the next car that I am going to monitor for speed will lie between 60 kilometers. That means 81 minus 21, roughly 60 kilometers, and upper limit of roughly 101 kilometers. So it will lie between 81.9 kilometers plus or minus 21 kilometers. This is the meaning of standard deviation. This is the formula for the standard deviation. We take the difference from the individual, I means individual reading and the average mean. Difference of each reading, individual reading from the mean. We square them. We square each reading. We add, this is sigma, capital sigma. We add all the squared difference divided by the number of readings -1 to averagize it, and square it again to nullify the effect of the square. And this is called standard deviation. So this is the meaning of standard deviation, that our car speeds are going to be between mean plus minus 21.16 kilometer. Now this is not a very accurate statement. This is just for a crude understanding of what is the physical meaning of standard deviation. But how much probable it is? Now I am using the word probably. I have put this word in bold. Probably our car that we are going to measure next in terms of speed will lie between 81.9 kilometer plus or minus 21.6 kilometers per hour. This should be our is missing from here. But how much probable it is? 68% or 98% or 99.7% or 99%? How much? You are saying probably. Probably for you is something else, for me something else. How much probably? So for this, we have to understand how each car speed data is distributed. So we have car speeds ranging from 45 to 112, we have seen in the example. How they are distributed across an axis. We have to see how each car speed data is distributed in our next lesson. So that means we will have to study distribution, and once we see distribution, once we see how each car data is distributed, you will also be able to know how much probability is there for the next car to fall in this range for the speed. So in our next video, we will understand the distributions, how each car, we will just take the same example again, the police recording the car speeds, how each of these car speeds are distributed along an axis, and what do we infer from there, what is something called as normal distribution, and how this standard deviation, just now we have learned how this is linked to data distributions. These data distributions, what is the relation between the standard deviation and these standard distributions, based on which, I will calculate how probable I am that the next car I am going to monitor will lie in this range, which we have seen in the previous slide. And what is the relation between the sigma or standard deviation and the sigma level? This is very easy in the examples that I have taken in my next video. So in order to have that video first, please subscribe so that you are informed as soon as we release the next video. Please remember, if you see all these videos, I will give you a guarantee that you will become an expert Six Sigma green belt sitting at your home free of cost. Thanks for watching. From BOBKASH University, keep watching my videos. Please subscribe so that you can see my next videos as soon as they are released, and take good care of yourself. Bye bye.